much. So, good day, friends. I am Nidhi Kapoor, your trusted resource person on an exciting yet occasionally perplexing topic of adolescence and relationships. So, fasten your seatbelts and get ready for an informative and entertaining joyride as we delve into the highs and lows and everything quirky about this fascinating phase of life. But before we commence, I would take few minutes to introduce myself. I'm Nidhi Kapoor, educator with 23 years of experience, dedicated physics facilitator. Teaching and mentoring adolescents is not just my profession. I'm completely driven by passion. Adolescence is a very tough phase of life, and mentoring during children during this phase is surely challenging. But believe you me, it is an extremely amazing and overwhelming experience, and you will have cherished memories for life. Without further ado, let's get delve into the session. Now, to begin with, let's discuss what adolescence is. Now, you would think this is a very obvious question. I know adolescence is the phase between the adulthood and the childhood. But let's further get into it, what it means. So, adolescence is surely the transitional period between the childhood and adulthood, marked by significant physical, cognitive, emotional, and social, interpersonal, moral, spiritual changes. So, look at the list of changes that an adolescent is going through during this phase. Let's go a little bit more deeper into it and find out how did this word originate. So adolescence comes from a Latin word adolescere, meaning to grow up. It was a concept introduced back in 19th century by G. Stanley Hall, who was completely swept by the onset of industrial revolution during the 20th century. And he called adolescence as a process of physical and psychosocial rebirth. Mark my words here, please. He called it as a process of physical and psychosocial rebirth. And he gave the further explanation that adolescence basically refers to a period where the child is entering into what is called as a miniature adulthood. Now, to deal with adolescence and the relationship issues of adolescence, it is extremely important that we understand what are the stages of adolescence. For most of us, if we go around asking the adults in your vicinity, if you ask them what is adolescence, they will say जब बच्चा स्कूल से बाहर जाता है तो उसकी adolescence end हो जाती है. But here there is a big difference because adolescence does not end at the age of 17. So it's extremely important to understand the stages of adolescence. So primarily there are three stages. There is early adolescence, middle adolescence, and late adolescence. And as we just went through that during this phase, a child is going through so many changes. So I have tried to make this bifurcated into various characteristics in the following slide. Let's look at early adolescence to begin with. So the age range is between 10 to 14 years. Imagine a student from grade 5 to grade 8. Extremely delicate phase. This is the time when physically a child will have rapid growth spurts. He will show development of primary and secondary sexual characteristics. Cognitively, this is the time when the child will develop the ability for abstract thinking. So if you start giving them out of the box questions, you would receive excellent and extremely innovative answers. That is why those who are into schools, they must have observed that CBSE is also organizing a lot of events featuring the cognitive ability of earlier adolescents. And this is the time when they start beginning to question authority and form independent opinions. So it's extremely important for an educator or somebody who is interacting with their child in earlier adolescence to understand that he or she is not questioning authority out of a sense of indiscipline. It's the hormones, the body changes, and the phase of life in which the child is, wherein he starts forming opinions, he starts beginning to question authority. Yes, it is associated with mood swings, as we can see in the emotional characteristics, and there is a desire for independence. So, for parents, Those who were holding their hands and taking their kids to park, they will suddenly find that the child says, I will go on my own. You needn't come to pick and drop me. It's within the society I can manage. So what happens is that parents tends to feel that the child is becoming indisciplined or rude, but it is just that the hormones within the body are giving the child that reassurance that yes, you can manage it. So I think it should be dealt accordingly with a lot of sensibility and sensitivity towards the phase in which the student is. Coming to the middle adolescence, age 15 to 17, so it would be somewhere between 9 to 12. This is the phase of life where there is a lot of academic pressure on the child because he is now going to answer the boards. And as so-called Indian mentality is that the parents start pressurizing the child to be more career oriented. There's a lot of pressure from the school, from the parents. At the same time, the physical growth continues to happen. There is more fine motor skills refinement. You will find that the children have lot of enhanced problem solving and decision making skills, and they start developing that sense of future goals. So this is the time when we need to have our professional orientation sessions for the children so that they are able to make a conscious, a wise choice for the career ahead. It has to be a very well informed decision, whether it is with respect to the subject choices they make or with respect to their personal life decisions. It's extremely important that we have multiple orientations with students of middle adolescence age group to take a very conscious and alert decision of their life. Coming to the emotional characteristics, you will find that slamming the doors, being rude, not listening, not responding, all this ceases a bit, and children begin to exhibit stronger emotional attachment. There is an increased self awareness. Now, when you observe that the child is becoming self aware, herein it's important that the educators or the school organize orientation sessions where they do SWOT analysis with the child. So strengths, weaknesses, all these once they are analyzed, again it will contribute to the growth and development of the child. So orientation has to be for career as well as to help or support the student in his own self-awareness. So now the school is over till the age of 17. So what happens is that 99% of people feel that school is over, now the child has grown up. But we have to remember that there is another phase of adolescence which then sets in, that is the late adolescence. It's only till 21 years of age when we can say that the child has entered into adulthood. Now, when we come to the physical characteristics, we observe that the growth has nearly completed. So physically, you might not be able to see more changes. There has been a full development of the primary and the secondary sexual characteristics. Now, if it so happens that the milestones are slightly delayed, you will observe that within this age, they will be completed. If they don't get completed, then it's a point of concern and medical assistance should be taken. Surely there is going to be advanced reasoning and critical thinking abilities, and the child will explore a lot of personal and professional interests. So any student who has taken a certain subject due to some reason in school, probably you will find in college he will take an outrightly opposite choice because that is the time when he wants to explore. There is more emotional stability and there is a desire of forming lasting relationships. So the relationships that late adolescents sees are extremely sensible ones, and the desire to sustain them within the adolescence is also there. So once we are aware of these three stages of adolescence and how they affect the mind and the emotions of a particular student, it becomes easier for the teacher, the school, the head, the parent. I think parents also need to know about this because they tend to take their behavior as a sense of indiscipline or losing the values. They don't understand probably that it is related to the body changes that the student is going through. Now, herein, I want to bring about focus on a very big confusion that majority of us have: puberty versus adolescence. While my interaction with parents over this long time, I have witnessed that they don't understand that there is a difference between the two. Wherein puberty is biological aspect of growth, adolescence is a more broader scope of development. So this puberty is going to talk about the hormonal changes or the development of primary and the secondary sexual characteristics. Like for example, boys start, their voice becomes husky, they start growing beard, underarm hair grows. All these body changes or the sexual maturation that is happening, that is coined into a term known as puberty. Whereas adolescence refers to the whole broad stage of development, which includes physical, cognitive, emotional, social, all changes are including within it. So it has a very wide reach. Now, this is an interesting slide which I would like to give few seconds on. Just look at the first caption, wherein the child is addressing the mother. First caption is towards my left. But mom, can't I just skip puberty and go straight to midlife crisis? Now, there's a very deep meaning in this clip. For people like me, I'm going through, middle age. So I consider it as a very tough phase of life. Imagine that puberty is probably even tougher than the midlife crisis. That is the gravity of this phase of life. So it requires a lot of compassion, a lot of empathy from all those who are involved. And whatever investment we make into this phase of life of a particular child, I am assuring you 100% it will reap infinite benefits towards the adulthood. So just to summarize that what puberty and what adolescence is, puberty refers to the biological process of sexual maturation, whereas adolescence refers to a more broader period of development, including the various changes that a particular student might be reflecting. So we are proceeding in a stepwise manner. We understood what is adolescence, how this term came into origin, what are the stages of adolescence. Now comes the part wherein we will address the various problems or the challenges associated with adolescence. Now, adolescence changes are physical, social, emotional, variety of changes are there. So I want you to look at this slide for a few seconds. Look at each image separately and try to identify which characteristic of adolescence are we trying to address here. So if you look at the first clip, all the other kids in the background are enjoying an interaction, whereas this girl is sitting lonely. All of them are together playing in the second clip. The third clip is talking about the sense of belonging from low to high. And fourth one, pretty much obvious, talks about social media. So as I think you must have all guessed it, we are going to talk about the social characteristics of adolescence. So social characteristics will start from the first and the foremost, that is the peer relationship. Peer relationship becomes of extreme importance to an adolescent. So be very compassionate. If suppose as a teacher you find that there are two children who are together creating a nuisance, I mean one is complementing the other in mischief, you have to handle it very intelligently, because if you start pitting one against the other, then they don't take it well. So be very wise in making them understand that why this combination is not good for their academic pursuit. There is a very ardent desire of acceptance and belonging. So sometimes students go to any extent to be accepted, to be a part of group, even if it means that they have to do something which is probably not into the norms of a school or into, even their family norms. They want to explore their personal identity. They want to experiment with different social roles. And that is when the influence of media and technology starts. So now earlier it was observed that this was happening in the middle adolescence. With the COVID time, when the onset of ed tech had happened, now the influence of media and technology has started from the early adolescence. So from grade 5 onwards, you will observe that the influence of media and technology sets in. So you need to talk to the children about how to use the media for their benefit and not get mal influenced by it. Next, we come to the interpersonal characteristics of adolescence. They start forming close relationships. Now, by close relationships or friendship might lead to a romantic relationship. So you will find, even if you are traveling in the bus with the children, you can overhear conversations wherein they are talking about who has a crush on whom, who is dating whom, wherein they don't even probably understand what dating and what crush means. But all this is happening with them. So again comes in an open communication with the children to make them understand. Once we talk to them, give them a platform to address the questions that are within their heart, then surely we will be able to come to an amicable solution. They have struggles with intimacy, they are very vulnerable, and they do experience peer pressure. This is a very major reason why you will find that children are getting withdrawal also. Withdrawal symptoms are also there because of this pressure to be a part of group or a pressure to be in a certain, set of friends forces the child to do things which he doesn't want. So it's extremely important that the educator is aware, interacts children on casual occasions also, not just while teaching, maybe during the morning time or during the break or during dispersal. If you observe anything, just make the child walk by you and generally talk to the child so that you understand that is there any interpersonal issue that is happening. Moral and spiritual characteristics. See, this is extremely important, which probably we don't fathom. What you will observe is that this child will start developing his own values and ethics. So you will hear him or her saying, I don't do things this way. This is not my value. I will dress up this way only, right? They start questioning religious and philosophical beliefs. Maybe all their childhood when you were doing puja, then they were standing with you and they were just singing the chants and the prayers, but now suddenly they don't want to go to a temple even. So this is because they start having their own personal values. It's not that they will become atheists. It's just that you will have to gradually cajole the child. If you have a certain belief, make the child aware of what are pros and the cons of that belief. This is for parents primarily. Schools would probably not be addressing this issue in too much detail. They start finding meaning and purpose in life, and they start exploring their personal spirituality. Now I feel that if we are able to expose our children to yoga during this phase, it really helps them because it helps in channelizing their energy through meditation, through pranayam in a positive direction. So yes, moral and spiritual characteristic is there. We might be thinking that this is a very frivolous phase of life, but it's not so. If we are well educated about the characteristics, I am sure we will be able to do a better mentoring for our children. So now again, a brief 2 seconds break for you to look at this slide. Give 2 seconds of focused attention and just imagine what the next would be. It shows a couple of images together into a collage where a child is wondering about his grades, friends, assignments, self-esteem, exam, bullying. If you can see a brain with things, aspects of growthful. There's another one which talks about no money, this, that. There's a lot of things. So I'm sure you have got the whole idea. The next thing that we're going to address are the challenges associated with adolescence. So challenges, if I ask you, upfront right now, you would have multiple set of answers. Therefore, I am not just focusing on the challenge. I'm going to just suggest a few tips that how we can help a student or how as an educator you can help the child to cross that bridge. So, to begin with, excessive energy. Yes, adolescence is characterized with excessive energy. So, you have to ensure that the children are engaged in activities like sports, they are into hobbies and creative outlets. Now, I have observed in the teaching fraternity, any student with excessive energy is just given the name, oh, ye to ADHD over. So, don't use any such terms so casually. Adolescence is categorized by excessive energy. Some children are able to contain that energy. They have that sense. Some children are not able to do it. So for them, during the PTM, suggest to the parents that yes, you must engage child in other activities during the evening time when the child is relatively free. Misunderstandings concerning sex. Now imagine a student who's belonging to a very traditional family setup, very traditional. Father doesn't talk to the daughter directly. Mother is the medium in between. They have no open discussions about friendships and everything. Now, if this kind of an environment is there and the girl begins to like a boy, until and unless she has proper information about various aspects of sexual maturity, she cannot handle this well. So we must make an environment where we provide a comprehensive sex education to the child. I know schools don't offer it. Even if we are not getting into that session openly, we can probably suggest some good content material or teachers who are addressing these topics, especially in class 8, there is a lesson. Then in ninth also, they talk about this. Why not cross an extra mile and tell the children more about the sexual maturity part of the education? Also, we have to promote an environment which has non-judgmental communication about sexuality. We should, I've seen, children being labeled or tabooed as, oh, ये तो बहुत आगे है, ये तो बहुत forward है. Just because the child expresses his or her opinions about sexuality. Let's be more liberal minded. We are entering into 21st century. Our children are stormed by so much information. Till we create this open environment, give them that confidence enough that yes, we are your safe spaces as educators. Come to us in the sense of doubt. We will resolve your doubt. Till then, there will be misunderstandings concerning sexual education. So this needs to be addressed by all educators. Aggression.
Sorry to interrupt you, ma'am. Keeping the time constraint in mind, we have around 10 questions.
Already? So
Yeah.
I'll just quickly brush up. So next is aggression. To handle aggression, we have to deal with the healthy conflict resolution. You can teach children about conflict management and also enroll them into various programs help in reducing the sense of aggression. Withdrawal, another a very, very major challenge associated with adolescence. So here the person who's observing the withdrawal needs to be very observant and find out whether a child is good. Say, for example, a new admission comes to your class and you are the class teacher. You see the child is not belonging to a group showing withdrawal symptoms. So speak to the child, identify one talent within the child and give that challenge that kind of a stage, that kind of an exposure so that he or she is willingly accepted. Rebellious attitude is one of the biggest challenges that are faced by the parents as well as the teachers. Now here, this attitude can be resolved extremely well if we provide children the opportunity to be a part in the decision-making process. If you seek respect, you have to give respect. So respect the children when you are addressing them. Talk to them with a lot of, dignity, appreciating their self-esteem. And I assure you 100% that whatever feelings they have within, mere by your addresses, they will get pacified completely. Daydreaming, yes, you will find children just sitting and going off to another world completely. Again, you have to tell the children about what are SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. To talk to the children about SMART goals, they will understand the importance of being focused in the present and not just dreaming about what will happen in the future. Physical awkwardness, Some really gain weight, some really have a lot of acne on the face. So address this very openly in a very liberal manner. Encourage the children to be a part of physical activities. There are many girls who, because of their weight, don't want to go into the PE field only. So the PE teachers have to be aware of this and with compassion make them play games wherein they don't feel that awkward about themselves. So you have to give them the opportunities to practice their fine motor skills. Emancipation and economic independence. Financial literacy is something which is very important for today's adolescents, and they understand the meaning of economic independence because we don't give them. So I feel in schools we must start introducing the concept of financial literacy. Maybe give them a small budget in their math classes and ask the children to arrange a party in this budget and show it in an interesting project. I'm sure it is going to come into a fabulous way. So these are all the challenges that are associated with the adolescence. Now, quickly, as we are running short of time, I will run fast the next topic, that is teen relationships. Now, teen relationships can be categorized into 6 categories. First category is friendship. Friendship is so dear to them that they will do anything for a friend. But how to enjoy that friendship in a healthy manner, these are the tips that I would suggest. There should be an open communication with the friend because many times the children do a one-sided communication. The children should be more empathetic towards their friends. They must set healthy boundaries that, okay, this is the exam time, you can't call me between this time, or you can call me between this time. So between two friends, they should have certain healthy boundaries. Yes, conflict resolution skills should be promoted and encourage diversity. It's not that they have to be friends with a certain financial group or a certain, sometimes mother tongue connects the children. They should have a diverse set of friends so that they get triple exposure. Now, this is something which a teacher can take up any day in the morning when you go for a substitution class. Just pick up this concept of friendship and give them some tips and see what amazing responses you can get. Romantic relationships, yes, there will be physical attraction between two individuals, and it's a part of growth. Please take it in that stride. Don't create too much fuss around it. As an educator, sometimes we get really overwhelmed by it. The more importance you give, the more importance the child gives. So understand that this is part of growth, and sometimes these relationships help in becoming a mature individual, provided we have certain boundaries. So yes, there has to be self-awareness. You have to teach children about consent, respect. I think this is something which is not being taught at home. So as an educator, it becomes our responsibility to make the children, both boys and girls, to understand what is the importance of consent and how you respect the other individual. Discuss what is healthy communication, what is independence, and we must tell our children about the red flags. I hope you understand there are red flags many times in a relationship where they, consent to be together, but yes, they might be doing some things which they shouldn't be doing. So we must educate our children about that. Casual relationships are, just like that. Okay, we are friends in this time, and after this time, we'll not be friends. So again, here you have to talk about similar concepts about boundaries, about consent, about personal well-being, and also safe behavior. So you have to ensure that a child knows that this is a safe space and this is not a safe space, and I can get into only this much with a casual friendship. Platonic relationships where it's purely non-sexual, non-romantic. They can have a best buddy. ये मेरा best friend है. A girl might say or a boy might say वो मेरी best buddy है. But if it's with an opposite sex, it requires the child to be educated about how to handle it. There has to be mutual respect. There has to be loyalty, trust. Listening skills should be enhanced. Inclusive होना चाहिए. They should share their interest if they want a platonic relationship. And I have experienced that these kind of relationships really help the children to release that emotional energy that they have, and at the same time not get involved into something which really distracts them. Online relationships, a huge concern recently because Instagram is so easily available for the children. to interact. They DM, and I don't think parents are even monitoring it. So online relationship education is something which should be mandatory in all schools from grade 7 onwards. So we must talk to children about online safety, tell them about what is catfishing, what is cyberbullying. They should be aware of all this. We must promote critical thinking before they get into it, how they should involve their parents also. If they're talking to somebody online or for a very long time, they must tell their parents. We must tell the children that what are the privacy, not to send pictures or what all information you can give to anybody on an online relationship. And offline interactions should be encouraged. We must tell our children now the phase of COVID is over. You can meet your friends, in the real environment. Why be online where you can hide behind an image? So yes, we must encourage offline relationships. Same-sex relationship. Now, this is another challenge which the teachers of 23 would be facing. There is so much talk about same-sex relationships, so much so that the children, just in the sense of curiosity, they want to explore. So what we can do is we must talk to the children about this issue also, whether it is a gay relationship or lesbian relationship. Once in a while, talk to students, say about 15 and above age group, be very wise so that they don't explore just out of curiosity. So this is a quick summary of what relationships teenagers will have, with certain tips that how you must educate. You might not address this entire issue together at one go, but pick up, topics at certain intervals so that they also liberally enjoy the conversation and have certain takeaways from it. So this is a quick activity wherein if you have a substitution period, divide the children into four groups with four participants and just give them some, situation and ask them to enact and then brainstorm on it. So this role play kind of, a skit really works well with teenagers wherein they can give voice to their thoughts and their opinions and they are able to express themselves. So this is a quick summary. Danger, adulthood ahead, proceed with skills. This is what adolescent feels, that yes, there is a danger ahead because adulthood is ahead and we need to proceed with skills. So it's not just the student, it's the educator also who needs to be equally well equipped with skills, with the knowledge, and with appropriate support that can be provided to the child. So thank you so much for your time. I think now we can take up the questions. Am I well in time?
Yes, ma'am. Out of 10 questions, I think I can, we can take 5 questions because it's already 11:30, past 11:30. Anyways, so the first question is, you have actually mostly covered all the points, but
Can I please stop share now?
Yes, please stop sharing the screen and expand your camera screen, please. Yes. So the first question is, what are some of the most common concerns that parents and teachers bring up regarding a child? Does this differ for adolescents?
So as I address, the most common concern that a parent comes up is with the rebellious attitude that adolescents show. And same goes for teachers also. They are not able to accept that the child is gradually maturing. They take it.
It's not indiscipline that the child is.
Hello?
Able to hear, ma'am. Yes, now I can. Yeah.
So it's not that the child is trying to be indisciplined. It is just that within the body, the hormones are giving him that kind of assurance that, okay, go ahead, you can do this on your own. Or if you don't like it, come on, speak up, you don't like it. So we need to be sensible to just take it as it is and tell the child to address this feeling within in a more appropriate choice of words. वही बात ज्यादा से भी बोल सकता है, वो एडुकेशन टीचर को देनी पड़ती है कि आप बेटा इस बात को ऐसे नहीं ऐसे बोलो. So then the conflicts at home and in the schools, they get resolved easily.
Sure. So many studies have claimed that witnessing violence through TV shows, movies, and video games leads to aggression. As parents, how do we deal with this?
Yes, as parents, first of all, you must monitor what your child is watching. Once in a while, even if it is in late adolescence, I think we need to once in a while watch, and it might not be so evident to the child. You can do it in a way wherein he feels that you are together enjoying a certain series or a certain episode together. And while that is happening, try to dilute the intensity of the visual that the child is seeing. And later also you can bring it up, because it is things which remains in the mind of the viewer for a long time. Sometimes they even have dreams maybe 10 days later. So once you have sat together and seen something, maybe 5, 6 days later, you are having a casual walk after dinner and you just talk that, okay, all this is just for viewing. It's just for visual pleasure. There's nothing else, and you should not take that as a way to resolve any conflict or if you have any concerns within yourself. Open communication is very, very important. किसी चीज को देख के चुप रहना उसका सोल्यूशन नहीं है. इम्पोर्टेंट ये है कि हम अपने बच्चों को वो सेफ स्पेस दे कम अप एंड दे टॉक टू अस एंड दे एड्रेस एनी इशू विद अस.
So as a head of a school, how often do you see students in your office for concern to social, emotional, or personal health?
Yes. So this is a very good question. I don't put into the office to address on this, because I feel that once you call the children to a head's office, the entire aura of discussion changes, because then I'm at the seat of authority and he or she is a student. Now, if you want some constructive output to come from the discussion, it is important that you discuss it in an environment where you are both at the same level of communication. So I normally go to the classes during the substitution period and just generally talk to the children about various aspects, whether it is peer pressure or social media, or sometimes you find, children start picking up each other's things, bottles, pens, and or crushes. There's a talk of lot of crush about one girl liking a certain boy, or they start leaving notes in the washroom. So all these communications, I try to make it in a more liberal environment where they come up with their responses. Only when the things have escalated to a certain level, that is when we address it in the office. And that too, it is extremely important that it should always be in the presence of another educator or a counselor in the school. Such matters should never be dealt alone. You need to have a witness or you need to have a counselor alongside. Sometimes what happens is, even the head gets annoyed and you tend to, take a decision which might not be, commensurating with the action that has happened. So a second opinion, a second person is always able to give you a better perspective on that concern.
Thanks. It's very good explanation, ma'am. So that ends the question answer round. And anything else you want to mention before we end the session?
No, I just hope that those who are watching this session, they benefit from it, and I have been able to do justice to their time. And looking forward to more opportunities with the school reformer. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll end the session now.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay.